Welcome to the Care Principles video podcast. Anouk Laga, CEO at Accent Jobs, kicks off a new season of the Care Principles video podcast. Anouk has a strong track record in brand strategy and general management. Today, she's the proud CEO of Accent Jobs, a talent placement company. Anouk puts people first and wants to contribute by giving everyone a chance to participate in society. Did you know that she also graduated as a phytotherapist in traditional Chinese medicine?
Hi everyone and welcome to the Care Principles video podcast. Today I'm very happy because it's the first episode of the second season, and guess who is my first guest? It's Anouk. Hi Anouk.
Good morning, Isabel.
Good morning. I'm so happy that you're here today. Before we dive into the story, can you just clarify, you're a phytotherapist in Chinese medicine. What is that?
Well, it's a side hobby, a passion that got a little bit out of hand the last couple of years. I've lived in Sydney, in Australia, for 3 years, and there's a lot of Chinese influence. 6% of the population is Chinese. And I was working for Coca-Cola, and we acquired a business in Hong Kong. And it was based on traditional Chinese medicine. And so I got the task, Anouk, can you launch a fantastic new brand and teas based on traditional Chinese medicine? So I thought, of course, I'm very happy to do that, to take care of people and people looking for health. And so, once I started diving into the project and into the science, it got a little bit out of control, and it kept me busy for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And 5 years ago, I decided to study it and to go into depth further. And so I got a small degree of the basics of traditional Chinese medicine.
Wow, that's impressive. And do you do anything with it? Do you?
Well, yes. One of the basic principles is food is medicine. So what you eat and drink helps to prevent not to become sick. So it's all about prevention and not cure. But also your healthy lifestyle, your physical exercises, your mental state, your emotions, the environment you live in, the environment you work in. And all of that, it's a holistic approach, of course. And all of that combined makes me, that I have quite some knowledge that I practice every day, at least for my close family and friends, and and potentially one day further to spread that knowledge.
Wow, that's impressive. Let's make the bridge, because I think it's a very nice bridge with the Care Principles. The Care Principles, it's all about taking care of someone or something. But of course, you can't take care of somebody else if you don't take care of yourself. You always seem amazingly imbalanced. Is it due to the Chinese medicines or are you just, how do you do that? Because I've known you for quite some years now, and you always seem very balanced.
Well, you're never fully in balance, so it doesn't exist. You have never achieved the balance. It's a dynamic thing. But it's one that I've been consciously looking for for many years. And to be honest, it was also trial and error, because in the beginning, when I started my career, I was very driven and too much driven, to the point that every time there was a holiday, I crashed and I became sick. So that was something that I didn't want to continue the rest of my life, because life is a marathon and not a sprint. And so I've always been looking to learn more on how to keep balance or to gain balance. And it's about consciousness. It's about trying every day, or at least every week, to compensate. If I have very young days with very much action, I try to be aware and try to calm down the next couple of days, or of course weekend and weeks. And so I've been actively learning through trial and error also. Balance. And the ultimate balance is actually extreme energy. That's the ultimate. If someone is glowing and has all the energy to to realize their dreams or to realize the potential they have in them. That's the ultimate energy. So also at work, I'm looking for balanced people, because if you are full of energy and you're thriving, you will be able to do many more things. And it's not about time. So it's not Chronos, it's Kairos. It's not about how much you do, but it's how well you do things.
Yeah, totally. I think we'll talk further about that. But just before we dive into your job, because you're CEO of Accent Jobs now, and we'll talk a lot about that job. But just before that, I just would like to understand better from you. As I said, we've known each other for quite some years now, and you always had this passion to do good. You always said, through my job, I want to create impact. I want to change things. Where does that come from? Because let's be honest, Coca-Cola, they weren't known to have marketers that wanted to create an impact.
Well, that you can question that. Impact is definitely in the company. But once you start to see that your impact is so huge that it can also turn into evil, where the Western capitalistic system went in overdrive, where we lost some balance, that's when I realized really that I've always wanted to have impact. But when you start in your career, you do it in the way you've learned it to be. And then it was still very much driven with volume, and more. And you want to conquer the world through more. And once you start to see, oh my God, it's not going well with the planet. Oh my God, it's not going well with the people. And yes, there's a lot of profit, but the other P's are not there. And then probably 15 years ago, before my midlife crisis, I started to realize, no, I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. So then it's like, what can we turn on its head to have all those skills, but turn them into a force for good? And we can deliver growth, and we can continue to deliver profit, but not at the cost of the planet and not at the cost of people. And then actually through my experience with Duvel Moordgat, which is a family company who has a long-term vision, not short-term deliverables for the shareholders and the dividends, they make all their decisions based on quality and long-term. And the funny thing is that despite that, or with that, they were growing faster than many other big brewers who were still focusing on volume and not value. So on quantity and not quality. And so I have the evidence. I've had the luck to see the evidence that you can grow in a different way and you can grow in a sustainable way. But we all need to be open to settle for a little bit less, but better. So not 2 cars, not 3 cars, maybe just 1 car, or not everyday meat, but half a piece of meat, but better meat. Less beer, but better beer. So there is still growth for everyone. And yes, we can continue to thrive all together. But we need to be much more aware that it needs to be in balance and not at the cost, the exploitation cost of planet and or people.
Totally. I can only agree with that, because the CARE principles are written from the same philosophy.
You've seen the light.
I've seen the light, yes. Many years
before.
Many years behind you, but I did indeed see the light. Because as a consultant, I'm already a consultant for 10 years, and I help brands with their repositioning and with their long-term strategy. And I always seen how they struggle because growth for many CEOs and many management teams seems to be the opposite of sustainability, taking care of people. And I want to, and that's why I do this podcast, I want to show examples of companies that know they can grow by better taking care of their people, by better taking care of the planet. And I think Accent Jobs, to make the bridge with Accent, is doing that. They have a huge focus on people. Yeah. And I would like to dive into the people part, because I knew you were a CEO there, but I gave a keynote to the House of HR, which is like the holding on top of Accent. And your people, your marketers came afterwards to me and they said, oh, but we do already so many of these things. They were so enthusiastic. And I said, oh, I need to invite Anouk into this podcast. So tell me, taking care of your people, how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it starts with giving people chances. So our job is to give people chances everywhere in Belgium, to give them new opportunities, to join great companies. So, but also within Accent, anyone can start with us, whether you have a degree in criminology, psychology, law, or no degree whatsoever, and you've decided to go on some adventures without a degree or diploma, it's okay. We give people chances. Then we invest enormous time and money. We have an own Accent business school. We have 20 FTEs, full-time equivalents, our own school that we train our people. So we give our people 200 hours of training. That's 25 full days per year.
And what kind of training do you invest in?
Any type of, but of course the first couple of years is very much focused on sales. Sales, but then also management, leadership, personal development. They have a menu. They can even choose courses at universities. So we have bonus points, and if they have enough points, they can. So we invest in our people hugely. So 1, chances to invest, and 3, we celebrate successes. So we have enormous amounts of attention. Unplanned and planned, of moments of appraisal and recognition. So and that means actually more than money. Getting a thumbs up or a genuine coaching session with that you've done brilliantly, and if you still want to grow, you can also consider this or that. And it's just in the DNA. So those 3 really make that we very much care for our people. Having said that, we are very performance driven as well. So we are extremely young. So we very much want to see results, and we are quite strict. If you don't deliver the results, I mean, we are not a charity. But on the other hand, we put all our efforts in our people. By the way, on the topic of marketing, we have never done any campaign whatsoever. But all our marketing money, we've always invested in our people. So our big seminars, our big parties, our unforgettable moments, unforgettable experiences, we put that into our people, because we believe our 1,100 Accenters, if they can live what we promise, it's much more authentic, because these people tell these stories. These people come home to their families, to their friends, and of course to our clients and candidates. And so it's a much stronger message, an authentic message, than paying a TV advertising to say how great Accent is. And that's something that has always been growing ever since the start. So that's actually leading authentically. Maybe last but not least, it's of course to cultivate and protect our culture. So we want to create a safe environment. And what do we mean by safe? Physically, of course. But that's not too difficult with our offices. And even though, I mean, sometimes they are under threat, sometimes we have angry candidates who didn't get the job for them. But physically, but also mentally. And it means with Accent where you can be you. And actually, you must be you. With all the differences, so we embrace every talent. And just being safe to think what you think and being able to say what you have to say, it's a privilege. And in many big companies, or small, people are not allowed to say what they think, or if you do say it, you get punished. And at Accent, we very much cultivate that culture. with the 3 values we have. One is be a friend. So we really want to be a friend for everyone. We want to be GoPro. We want to be professional in all that we do and deliver quality, not quantity. And stay gutsy. We want to dare to go off the beaten path, to take risks, to say no to clients sometimes, or to say no, we're not going to do this. We stick to what we're good at. And so yeah, those are, I guess, the main things that keeps us busy every day on people.
One of the things that I understood from companies with a strong internal culture, and I think Accent has a very strong internal culture, that it was very difficult to cultivate it during the COVID crisis, because homework, not seeing each other, internal culture has a lot to do with feeding the culture. How did Accent do that over the last 18 months?
Well, luckily our big culture work was just finished before Corona. So the culture lives. So it's not about having them on PowerPoint slides or... but we've just done an exercise internally that was my predecessor. So luckily we had documented and we had celebrated all together and repolished. This is what we stand for. So there was an umbrella that we could always refer back to all together. So luckily that was in place. But of course, we very much have actually literally a hugging culture. You know, in big corporates where I've worked, you just say, if you're lucky, you say hello in the elevator, like, do I know this person or not, or at the coffee machine. At Duvel Morgat, we shook hands. So I thought, wow, that's special. You know, every morning you see your colleagues, you shake hands. At Accent, we kiss, you know. But obviously, everyone who sees each other, they kiss each other. Obviously, that's something I had not experienced myself because I started during Corona times. But it was also a struggle for us, you know. Of course, it was a struggle because our culture is very physical and it is about be a friend and connection. But we were very creative and, well, actually, our employees were very creative. So we have very much a bottom-up culture, and it's not that they were waiting to come from Roeselaar or from the headquarters. Not at all. There were so many initiatives bottom-up that we endorsed and we subscribed to ourselves, of still going for walks together, or when we had mid-year evaluation moments, we would do them outside way before other people started doing that. And we tried to be creative to replace in different ways still the connection. But of course, people have been more lonely. People have been struggling. Every individual, including myself, it was a struggle. So
yes, totally. What are the you're quite new to the job. You just told me that you're so happy because it's the first weeks you can finally go to the office and really meet your team, all be together in the office. What are for you the big challenges ahead of you? Where do you want?
For Accent or as a society?
No, for Accent.
For Accent. The big challenges, it's to find talent. Talent is scarce, and there's many new type of jobs, and many people still willing to work, but not necessarily with matching the skills. So we hope we can provide better tools. One, to upskill and reskill people. So we just launched Talent Lab internally. So it's an internal school, but for our people at work, actually, to help and train and educate them better. But it's also a mindset change of the companies, that they need to be more open to look at CVs differently. Because if you look at the CV and you look for experience and it's not tick, 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 well, you can meet 35 candidates and still not hire the person. But it's about giving chances, and it's about taking risks, and so the candidates need to be open to restudy and reskill. We will all have to do this at some stage if we haven't done so already.
Lifelong learning.
Yeah, lifelong learning. It's a true fact. We are evolving too quickly as a society, so many jobs that exist today in 10 years' time might not exist anymore. So we need the openness of the candidates to reskill, but we need the openness of the companies to look beyond CV and look much more, do they have the right competences, as opposed to the skills. And skills can be trained, but if they have the will but not the skill, they should give them chances. So that's, I guess, the biggest, for the moment, challenge. And obviously continue to do quality work, hybrid, so through digital and physical. That's also a continuous balancing act. As much as we can, we want to go fast and pioneer into digital, but we want to keep it human, and we want to keep the connection and the depth of the relationship. So that's another major topic.
That was one of the things that I was wondering about, because within the CARE principles, so the generic insight is taking care, but of course there's more to it. There's 4 shifts in the way you do business, and it's within the word care, so it's collaboration, agility, reliability, and empathy. And you apply these CARE principles on your 4 main assets, which is your own people, your staff, your clients, your communities, so not only work for shareholders, but all your stakeholders, and then of course the planet. So we already talked a little bit about how amazing you are with your people, but I would like to dive a bit deeper into the collaboration with your clients, because it's a fact that many companies are still, in my opinion, quite old-fashioned how they look at the asset of their own people. Do you have ways of helping them, training them, all the wisdom that you have inside your company now? Do you pass it on to your clients?
Yeah, good question. We don't have the arrogance to say we have the truth, but indeed this year we won greatest place to work. And again, it was not as much the trophy that we cared about, but it was about, one, getting the acknowledgement that we are doing really well.
Recognition.
The recognition for it, but also we want to share that knowledge. So we've opened up to all our clients, but also any potential new client, to share our knowledge. So we've now registered already 100 keynotes we are investing our time to go and talk to the companies for free, to share our knowledge of what for us was meant a great place to work, and how we achieved it, because this was a 17-year process, by the way. So it's not just
17 years.
Yeah. So 17 years ago, we started for the first time to participate. It was always Connie van den Driessen, one of the founders, her dream to be the best company in Belgium. But yeah, I mean, it's in collaboration with Vlerix, so there's real rigorous processes, and you get evaluations, and then there's the jury. And so every year we did better and better, and the last 5 years we were always number 2 or number 3, and that really sucks, because you don't get the recognition. And but this year we won, and so we want to spread that that knowledge.
Did you know what was the difference between where did you accelerate to go from number 3 to number 1?
Yeah. To be honest, every year we learn new things. So every year we have a few working points. But I think what the biggest trigger was, we did already so many things, but based on our guts, because we believe that's what should be done. But we never wrapped them into one nice strategy and one nice story. And the work that we've done on our mission statement and on our values was a very clear umbrella where everything was logically falling under. So we didn't have to change anything else, but just the fact that, oh yes, of course, it totally makes sense. I believe that was one of the key drivers, so that the jury was now also convinced, okay, they really know what they're doing, and why they're doing it. So I guess that was the main trigger.
Yeah, nice to know. There was a moment you said we are not striving to be the biggest, but we want to be the best.
Correct.
But still, your organization is very sales driven.
Correct.
How do you do that?
Well, it started before I joined. It started me asking the question to the board: what is their dream? What do they want to become with Accent? Also, Connie van den Driessen. And for me, it was a test. And honestly, if she would have said, "I want to become the biggest," or "I want to conquer the world," or I would not have joined, because it's something I don't want to subscribe to, because that was the model. That was the old model. And the new model, and not the sustainable model, because you can buy growth. You can take shortcuts on quality, on planet, on people, just in order to, and it's very old school. It's the old way of unlimited growth, but we need to be respectful, and growth defining that way is just not working. But Connie said, and she didn't know my whole background, but she said, Anouk, I don't want to be the biggest. I want to be the best with the highest profit margins, right? So, which means that you create value, So we have more than 3 times EBITDA margins versus our other colleagues. But it's a different model. We choose not to go for the big pond of quantity and just people just for a few days. We invest in quality. We do enormous effort to find exactly the right candidate that exactly fits the culture. And then you charge more for it.
Okay, but does it mean that you're also looking for more niche kind
Yes,
of?
of course, absolutely.
Okay.
It's to make the similarity with beer, you have the Pils market. It's huge. It's 80%, and there's 20% specialty. So you decide to go into the niche, into the quality, which is a much less big pond, but it's a much more sustainable, because you go into quality and into value creation. And that's what I want to subscribe. So her not knowing, Connie, it was already the confirmation from the top, because if they would expect that from me as a CEO, I would not be able to deliver that, because I don't subscribe it myself. And I've seen in my past where it can go off track, and where people, managers, start to make decisions, leaders, cutting costs, cutting corners on quality of the product. Nobody will notice. We'll add a little bit less of this and a little bit more of that. And cheating on the product, or cheating on the packaging, or cheating on the people. And that's not sustainable, and that's not what I wanted to subscribe to. So it was a very deliberate choice for me to join this company. And yes, we still want to grow, but we need to be creative, and we need to be pioneers, and we need to find new ways of developing added value. So not volume, but value. And that's growth, and it's intellectually even harder.
But value used to be created through marketing by building huge image campaigns on the outside.
Yeah.
And I think you agree with me that today marketing has to be created on the inside of the company.
It was always the case, but somewhere it totally derailed. In the very beginning, Kotler taught us the 4 Ps.
That's true.
The P of product was in the marketing field, and then suddenly the product was not for the marketeers anymore, and then suddenly the price was not for the marketeer, and so only promotion. So marketing got reduced to communication. So they cut corners on everything, and then it's, oh, you marketeers, and now you tell a beautiful story. And you know what? Puff! You can just burst the balloon, and that's where you lose the trust of your consumers, of all your suppliers, and in the end of all your not only shareholders but stakeholders, because the world has become too transparent. Luckily, thank God, there is the internet. You're 1 click away from the truth. So if you start to play with your juice, and you dilute a little bit more and add a little bit powder here or whatever, so you're only 1 click away from the truth, because even your employees know that you're doing that. So yes, you can buy many more TV ads by reducing a little bit of the quality, but that's not sustainable anymore. And so thank God there is the crisis of trust, but they also lost the trust in companies. Because for a long period of time, only the companies were still standing there as, the government had lost trust, the church, the
Media,
banks, media. Only the companies were still there. And even then, they started to derail. And that's where I've seen it derailing, and I've also seen, no, that's not how I want to continue to deliver growth. I believe it can. I've seen it with Duvel. I have all the evidence that it's possible. And that's why I want to continue to spread that in a different way.
But it's absolutely true, because part of the evidence I've written in the book is about the trust study from Edelman Trust Barometer.
Yeah.
And it's true that people still look at companies and ask them to do the right thing. But I think there's a specific role for family-owned businesses, because they have in their DNA, they have this long-term vision. Duvel was a family-owned business.
True.
In a kind of way, the group, the holding you're part of is also it's kind of family-owned. But in the same experience, when I talk to family-owned companies, they don't really realize that they have they have amazing added value also to find and attract the right talents in the market. Yeah. Is it something that you...
Absolutely. Because they've never done anything else, they can't compare. So when I arrived at Duvel, I saw so many differences, but they didn't even realize that they were looking very differently at talent, so at people, at the planet, at everyday choices. But for me, it was so clear to crystallize that for them. And that's why I also want to spread that knowledge as much as possible, because in the end, they also have their family name put to everything. So you do care. If your family, companies, big companies have often, not always, become anonymous. And because you are just a number, one of them, it's not your name or your reputation. But with a family business, one, you really want to look after it well enough, because your children are ready to become the next generation. But also your family name is linked to every umbrella you put on a terrace, or a glass that you put in a bar. So you want it to be quality, and that's underestimated. So there's a huge value, and luckily in Belgium we have still a lot of our growth that comes from PMEs, so small enterprises. Yeah. So luckily there is still a lot of hope, because indeed the brave ones and the most courageous ones, they are rewarded today. They are growing well. But two, they can become, the courageous ones who do stand up, and the rest hopefully can find their balance back, because nobody is born evil. Not one company is born evil, but through the years and through the greed of growth of the shareholders who expect their dividends, because they want money back for their money, it got derailed. But in the end, the shareholders, Isabel, it's something very important. It's actually all of us, we. So it's not the board who's evil or a company. Well, we all expect a dividend when we invest in something. So the real solution, yes, the companies and especially the family companies will continue to be the catalyst. But the real change will come from every single individual, all of us.
Exactly, because you don't need to buy stock at the stock market. Yeah. But every day when you buy something in a supermarket, you make a choice.
Totally. Every euro you spend, every euro is a vote.
Is a vote for a good product or a bad product, a product that is really taking the piss with everything on sustainability, or is greenwashing, or is badly treating its people. It's true, but I think many consumers don't realize that.
I know, and that's, if I can help that everyone becomes more conscious about that, I would be delighted. So I'm happy to get these type
Good
of
message. No, totally. Totally.
podcast opportunities, because no, we should not look at, oh, the government is not doing, oh, the companies are not doing, it's actually up to every one of us. We have the power.
We have the power.
But
totally.
we don't have the consciousness yet.
Yes, exactly.
To realize that all of us, whether you earn a lot of money or not much money, all of us, we vote whether we still want that meat in the supermarkets at €2 or not. If
exactly.
You don't buy it.
Or
the
single-use plastic, or exactly whatever.
The eggs from free-range eggs that cost €1 more, but at least those chickens don't have to be in their bloody cages with 3 cycles in 24 hours. But we are not conscious enough, and once we become, all of us, more conscious, we will make different choices, and we won't accept that anymore.
Interesting. I just want to take a small leap again to the book. I've written a special chapter about the next generations because a lot of companies, they struggle today with millennials. They hire them and then they can't keep them, and millennials after 6 months they're already bored and they don't understand why they don't get a company car, but they do have a 9-to-5 mentality, and so millennials is really a struggle for a lot of companies. But then there's Gen Z that is coming, and the oldest now are 23. So little by little, if they have studied, they will start to find a job, and they are again very different from millennials. And then there's Gen Alpha, the small ones, the digital natives, which is again
the TikTok generation.
The TikTok generation, another different ball game. How aware are you? Well, you're very aware, but how, again, do you help your clients to understand that it will need a different approach to have these people work for you?
Yeah.
Do you help them in this? How do you train them? How do you tell them this information?
Well, first of all, it's trial and error for us as a company as well, because these people start to join, and our old ways of remuneration or expectations don't always work anymore either. So we need to adapt. And indeed, we need to prove that we can train them better, keep them for longer, keep them happy. But it's a continuous process. But indeed, I mean, it does require different things than old school thinking. I'm the boss, I'm in command and control, and you will work for me as a resource. If that's the mindset, you may not even attract those people. But 2, if you do attract them, they might not stay for long. So, as with everyone, it's survival of the most adaptable. And that applies for companies as well. So there is no handbook, there is no one truth, but you need to be willing to learn and look for ways to adapt, and that's something that is very at the core of the DNA of Accent as well. We are extremely agile, extremely.
Give an example.
Yeah. Well, we've done a reorganization, whilst there was Corona, and of course we were a little bit in survival modus, but we thought, okay, let's prepare to be ready for when we are out of the crisis, in thrive modus. So we decided we could optimize a few things internally. And to be honest, I've done quite some reorganizations before. And I know how much time it takes, 1, to prepare, but then 2, to execute. I have never ever seen a company. So in the preparation, it was maybe 3 months in the real preparation. Once we announced it, normally, it would take at least 6 months of a rollout. And so we announced it early June to start in July, right? And so in the morning we announced it, and at noon already we had lunch together, and people were saying, yes, but Anouk, I mean, why should we wait until 1st of July? I mean, if we need to change anyhow, we need to change offices, we need to change jobs or our technical expertise. Why not now, And so a lot of them, they changed already a week later So before the deadline of 1st of July. So I have never ever seen that someone was willing to change faster than what we anticipated, and yeah, already it was fast.
Well, many people, when you talk about change, the first thing they do is like, hold on,
Absolutely.
why should we change? But we've always done it this way. And so there is a different type of mentality then.
Yeah, and I think so. People are actively looking for growth, as I mentioned. So we train them, but if you don't want to grow, you should not join Accent. So we give people chances, but we make them grow. We make them grow from people who have joined who don't speak the language, and they were picking fruit, to a cleaning lady, and then they came. So we gave them those jobs, and then we hired them at Accent to come internally, and they're now sales directors.
Wow.
Who speak fluently Flemish, so or Dutch. So just how to show, that so growth is intrinsically linked to the people at Accent, and so they're open for change. And of course, there's emotions. When there's an announcement and they won't work anymore with that great boss, or they need to change. There is some emotion, but very quickly, I mean, the next day, if not the next few hours, it's like, okay, I got the shock, I'm frozen I want to go for a run or whatever, but the next day they're here and they made the switch. So, and already now in July, I just saw the results of the market share yesterday. We seem to have accelerated. So it's too soon almost to say, but it's like, seriously, would that already be the results of what we had hoped for? So it's not long enough yet to extrapolate, but yeah, the willingness to change, but companies need to be prepared for that.
Totally. I don't think I've used one of my questions that I prepared.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I go with the flow.
No, totally. It's so interesting, everything you said. But I do still have two important questions. The first one is, I've written the book, and I had no idea what to do with it when the moment I've written it. And the more I talk about it, and the more I give keynotes about it, and the more I get in companies and I try to apply the CARE principles within repositionings, the more I understand it's all about leadership. It's not something you said about the culture is very bottom up, but the CARE principles is,
it starts from the top.
It really starts from the top.
Absolutely.
It's really something that the CEO or management team says, okay, we're
board
shareholders, totally. We're going to embrace it, and we're going to start to change at the top, and then see how it goes down within the company. How do you, and I honestly believe that CEOs, they are the new rock stars of tomorrow. They will create the change that is necessary to save this planet. How do you feel about that? You've been on this mission for a long time. You're very authentic in your own personal mission. Is it something that you also feel, or how do you think about leadership? And what is contemporary leadership for you? Because the world is changing so fast.
Yeah. I very much believe that the model of command and control and information is power, that era is over. For those people who are still stuck there, their companies, and if they're not changing and quickly, they will lose their people and they will lose their business. So command and control is not the way to go. It's very much connect and collaborate. So connection with the people, connection with the clients, connection with the stakeholders, and collaborate. Because before it was ecosystem. Now we are ecosystem. Through Corona, we've all experienced that everyone is interdependent on the other. So you can never be successful if all the others are unhealthy or not successful. So we need each other. And the survival of the companies will be those who don't compete, but collaborate the best. And so before the model was, I'm at war, all the companies, they have war language. I will...
War rooms.
Yeah, war room. Yeah, literally war rooms. I will crush them. I will kill the whatever. That's the language we used. And those companies will no longer survive if you have not understood that you need to collaborate to succeed. Of course, internally, but also externally, and even with your competitors and with your suppliers, because so we need to look after each other and we care for each other. And I hope that it was clear through Corona times. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't go well for one of it doesn't go well for no one. And so connect and collaborate is absolutely the new way of working, which means also for leadership, you don't have the truth. There is not one truth and you have all the answers. And there is you could call it humble leadership or in humility. It's really listening and trying to understand where everyone is coming from, and have as much diverse team with as much diverse viewpoints possible, which is scary and it's more difficult. It's much easier to have a single white male who all think the same and who all went to the same schools, but that's not reality and that's not the future. So I very much believe in diverse teams daring to speak up, creating safe environments so people share their different perspectives, and then have the humility to try to understand very much each other. I've lived abroad for 10 years. Before I left, maybe I was a bit arrogant and there was my truth, once you start to become part of very different cultures where they look at the same things in very different ways, you start to realize, oh no, there's not one truth. There's many ways to look at the same thing, and there's many solutions. And actually, by listening genuinely to each other, rather out of arrogance, I know best. No, you tell me. And of course, you need to steer and give direction, and you need to make decisions. In the end, I'm the final responsible if we make wrong decisions. But still, yeah, the leadership is really different. And if you don't see that or value that enough, I believe you won't have the strongest talents that you can attract. So yeah, I mean, I don't have the truth, but that's at least how I
totally
know.
But I totally understand, and I think the CEO leadership today is a more vulnerable leadership. Is trying to dare that you don't know everything.
Absolutely.
So totally. Last question, Anouk. I could go on and talk with you forever, but last question: what can any company copy from Accent Jobs, or that you say that now this is something so easy, anybody can apply that? Do you have tricks, tips, insights that you say, well, listen, honestly, anybody can do that?
Yeah. Well, it sounds so trivial, but it's a fundamental belief, and now I have the evidence at Accent as well. If you invest in your people and you let them grow, but it's a cost, it's time, it's effort, it's attention, it's care. If you invest in your people and not in anything else, so to say, and to make it more extreme, your company will grow. And people often have still their targets in mind. I want to grow X volume, or I want to grow X revenue, or X profit. And then they work backwards. So therefore, what will I do? But they've lost the essence. They've lost the most basic thing. And they see people as a cost center, right? Resource. Shame on us. We still call a person resource.
Horrible.
They are gold. I mean, every talent is the key for growth. But to unlock that key the best, it's invest in your people. And we are busy with 100 things, but we forget very often, and it doesn't need to cost money, to invest in caring for our people, to make them feel safe, to make them feel full of energy, in balance. And if they are, they will have the best ideas, the most innovative ideas. They will be faster, they will be better, and the growth will come. But it's a logic consequence of investing in your people.
It's not an objective.
It's not exactly. The objective should never be, I want to grow with X. No, it's put all your investment in your people, and your company will grow.
Will grow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anouk.
Sorry for the simplicity.
No, I think it's good to be simple, because then at least other people can say, okay, let's see how we can do that as well. It's been amazing to have you here as the first guest of the second season. For those who are watching, thank you so much to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is important. I don't want to become an influencer, but still any extra subscription is making me really happy. For those who are listening only to podcasts, please also leave me a review or just subscribe as well, so you know when the next episode is uploaded. Thank you, Anouk.
Well, thank you so much, Isabel, for welcoming me in such a beautiful and professional environment. And by the way, thank you for investing all of your time and all your care, actually without profit. Right?
It's true.
Yeah, you are investing your own time and your own efforts in all that to spread more care in the world. So thank you so much for what you're doing every day. You are a rock star.
Do you also want to grow your brand in a caring and sustainable way? Check out thecareprinciples.com and see how we can help you.